Fox host Tomi Lahren is really feeling that cabin fever. So much so that she decided to put out a really dumb statement. And I don't actually think that's from the cabin fever. I just think that she's being dumb. But anyway, on social media, the Fox Nation correspondent decided she would compare social distancing to a rather disastrous um, American institution. She said, quote, compliance starting to look a whole lot like willful slavery. Hashtag reopen America. I'm sorry. What about paying people to stay home to protect themselves and others constitutes slavery? I'm just kind of curious about that. I'm wondering if she can really kind of elaborate on what the whole willful slavery is, because I've never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of the opposite, which is slavery, where you force people to work and don't pay them. You know, kind of like what's going on in New York, where prison inmates are forced to make hand sanitizer. Don't think I'm not onto you, Andrew Cuomo. This guy's a disaster. But apparently, Tomi believes that anything that slightly inconveniences her, especially if it helps another human being, right? Because we can't have that, is akin to being one of the worst crimes against humanity on the planet. I'm not saying it's the worst crime. I believe that is the Holocaust, but that ranks up there slavery. Okay? The enslavement of millions of people. Now, the other thing, of course, I asked earlier, what's willful slavery? Oh, right. It's not a thing. It doesn't exist. That is really the demented ravings of a privileged idiot. That's what this is. So, of course, she gets called out and immediately hits the delete button on the tweet, because I think even she realized she had the self-awareness to say, ooh, yeah, bad, not good. Let's just get rid of that. But of course, nothing ever really disappears on the internet. And so, you know, it's still there in screenshots and all that stuff. But Tomi did respond with this, quote, the same people who said it was acceptable and valiant to jump turnstiles and riot in the streets over paying a subway fare are now shaming and demonizing Americans who simply want to reopen their businesses and get back to work. The mental gymnastics is impressive. Yes, Tomi, those mental gymnastics are very impressive. Wow. I've never seen someone attempt to bench press so much stupid and then get crushed by it. Maybe you should hire a spotter. Look, one of these things is not like the other. One of those things just don't belong. All right? We have an incredibly virulent virus going around. One that, you know, look, I know a lot of the focus is on older people, people who are immunocompromised, but there is evidence that there are younger people. We've seen stories of 20 and 30-year-olds, people who are generally pretty healthy, dropping dead of stroke related to coronavirus. There's so much that we don't really know about this. And so it makes sense to protect the weakest and the most vulnerable. And it also makes sense to prevent hospitals from getting slammed with so many patients at once. I mean, that's the whole point of the stay-at-home order, is to prevent those two things. Jumping the turnstiles, well, that's different because they're trying to help poorer people. Public transportation should be very low cost, should be accessible to low-income people. That's kind of the whole point. Now, as far as her other point, right? She's trying to pass herself off as, oh no, I'm a protector of the people. I mean, people just want to get back to work, and how dare you go and demonize those people? No. The people that are out there protesting right now, for one, they're heavily armed. What are you going to shoot the virus, moron? What is wrong with you? No, they're out there. A lot of them are business owners, or, you know, just brainwashed idiots that are saying, oh, we're going to open it up. We're going to open it. Just stay at home is tyranny. That's what's happening in Michigan right now. They're literally blocking the state house. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But most people are not of that mind. There are people out there that genuinely are hurting. And yet, you know, most people Even the people that are hurting are like, look, I understand. I do want to get back to work. I do want to start making some money, but there is this virus out there and I'm doing my part. Over 80% of Americans are okay with the stay at home orders, even if it hurts the economy. So understand, right? And people are hurting. I am sympathetic. I'm not unsympathetic to that. And everyone should be everybody's hurting. But this situation is, I mean, it's exactly what government intervention was made for. The Trump administration had an excellent chance to prove that it cares about the very people that it says it cares about by instituting good policy positions. For example, a temporary UBI. Now, I know Democrats are calling for $2,000 a month. That's good. That's great. Republicans could at least call for a $1,000 a month. I mean, it's not like it's super amounts of money, right? Gobs and gobs of money, and oh my God, it's going to be, just chaos, right? If we let that happen, according to Republicans. But $1,000 a month is something. One $1,200 payment, not nearly enough. Not nearly enough. Not only that, but they could ensure that everybody has health care or that their mortgages and rents are frozen. They didn't do any of that. What the administration did is what, of course, most administrations seem to do, especially Republicans. They pillaged as much taxpayer money as possible and redistributed it upwards to the corporations while giving people barely any crumbs. You know why? Partly is, of course, that's what they always do. They prioritize their donors over everything, right? But there's another thing as well. If they did this, and it would be very successful, right? It would completely undermine the entire conservative argument that government is ineffective, government doesn't work, it shouldn't be there to care for you, it's only there for quote unquote the common defense, which means give more money to the military, and you should pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And so their entire ideology, it goes around about how you shouldn't trust government, you shouldn't rely on government in case of an emergency, especially in the case of an emergency. And then they go and they prove it. And that's kind of the point. And so that's why people are suffering. Not because they can't go back to work, because if you open up too early, every medical expert has this opinion, nearly every, right? That it is too early to open up. And if you do, you are going to see a resurgence of the virus. You're going to see spikes in the number of people getting infected and spikes in the number of people that will die from this virus. You might also see a dangerous mutation because they mutate, viruses do. And of course, what happens when they replicate so much inside of a human being? Sometimes there's a mutation that could make this virus benign, that could happen, or could make it more deadly. That's not good. That's bad. Let's not go in that direction. And so, yes, we do need to continue with the social distancing. Unfortunately, you have about 31 states that are now relaxing to varying degrees their stay-at-home orders. You have Texas that's opening up. You have Georgia that's opening up. And Florida that's opened up the beaches. Those places are going to see a huge resurgence. And the places that have made any sort of progress in containing the virus, well, they're about to have that progress undone by a bunch of people like Tomi Lahren that are throwing a fit because they can't get their hair done. Tomi is a literal Karen. And she apparently wants to speak to coronavirus's manager. People like her, they are willing to put the rest of us at risk so her and her friends can make an extra buck. She's not hurting at all. No. She makes a lot of money. Why? How? She's a grifter. And so how dare she try to speak for people who are actually hurting in this economy due to this virus? Tomi Lahren, as always, straight up garbage. Trash. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.